Welcome in to the Chiefs Dome podcast. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Post-game show, the Chiefs beat the Browns 21-7. Probably not a score a lot of people predicted. People thought this would have been a little closer. Kind of a weird game. A weird game. There were some great things, and there were some terrible things, and there were some things in between there. And we are here to discuss all of that and much more on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Appreciate you guys joining me live on this episode on a Sunday afternoon. We don't normally do podcasts this late, so we've got some big games happening right now that we'll be keeping an eye on. So a lot of talking points as the Chiefs improve to 13-1 on the season. They are getting closer and closer to clinching the number one seed. So a lot of things to talk about here as we get into this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Once again, I want to hear from you guys. So if you guys have any thoughts, please share them below. Let's chat it up. I want to hear from you guys. Give me your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on today's game. Do you feel good about today's game? Do you feel some kind of a negative way? I want to know how you're all feeling with this one, because there are a lot of talking points with everything that happened today. Again, I'm seeing some of the reactions online. A lot of interesting talking points. So let's get right into it. But before we do that, I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the place where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, NHL, college sports, whatever is going on right now. Hey, Royals tickets are on sale right now. And actually, I'll tell you something. I got my hands on some Royals tickets. Couldn't do it through the Royals website because if you want to go to the Royals opener, you have to have some sort of a package. Well, you don't have to do that on SeatGeek. Just go to SeatGeek.com, go find opening day, and you can get your tickets on there. No package necessary. You don't have to buy season tickets or a 10-pack or any of those weird things. You can just get the tickets you want on SeatGeek. So go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets from there. And if you're a new customer, at checkout, use my promo code Farzin and you'll save $20 off your first purchase. Go to SeatGeek.com. New customers at checkout, use my promo code Farzin and you'll save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Okay, I have the link for you guys to call in. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm seeing a lot of comments already, a lot of things to get into here. Let's start with the big glaring negative, and it's that Patrick Mahomes suffered the injury at the end of the game. It was an ankle injury. I kind of laughed because with about 4 minutes left to go, Evan Washburn, I get he's just doing his job and doing what he's reporting what he was told, but he says that Mahomes was questionable to come back, as if they're really going to put Mahomes in the game. Now we know Andy Reid doesn't like to determine these kinds of things right away, and it's not Andy specifically in that moment, but we'll see what happens. But as far as the game itself, let me just say this, because I think what I'm about to say right now applies for a lot of other things with the Chiefs, a lot of other games that the Chiefs have been involved in. The Chiefs overcomplicate everything. They overcomplicate everything for no reason. You got 6 turnovers today. I'm watching the pregame show on CBS, and what's Matt Ryan saying? Oh, well, my biggest concern is they're not forcing turnovers. And he's right. Chiefs have not been forcing a lot of turnovers this year. They got 6 today. And yeah, that's against a bad football team, but you still don't see 6 turnovers being forced even against some of the worst teams in the NFL. So the Chiefs defense, I mean, they're capable of going out there and getting the job done. 5 sacks. But off of those 6 turnovers, you only get 14 points. One of them was on a punt return where they fumbled, and the Chiefs scored quickly after that. And then on the first play of the second half, Jameis Winston throws an interception to Nick Bolton, who had a phenomenal game today. And the Chiefs capitalized on that to start the second half. After that, nothing from the Chiefs. And here's what kind of got frustrating with the Chiefs is Mahomes at one point, and this was not pointed out on the broadcast, Patrick Mahomes threw 8 straight incompletions. Whew, boy, 8 straight incompletions. Man, I don't know. Like, what are we doing here? And then they go for it on fourth down, which, look, I have no problems going for it on fourth down, but in that situation, in the fourth quarter, you're up by 2 touchdowns. The Browns just got lucky on one play today, and that was on that big touchdown run. And you're going for it, and that's the play Mahomes got hurt. Yeah, you didn't do your quarterback any favors on this one here. And please, I'm not going to hear any discussion about Matt Nagy. No, stop that right now, please. Because when things work, Andy gets all the credit. When things don't work, I have to hear from everybody that Matt Nagy's the guy who, he's the bad guy here and he's got to go. No, I'm not hearing any of that. We're not having that conversation. This is on Andy Reid. I saw a tweet from DJ Evans, who was on this podcast in the past. He tweeted this. He said this might be the worst Andy Reid performance in the Patrick Mahomes era. He's probably right. 6 turnovers and you only get 14 points. Listen, you guys know me, coming off every win, and I'll get to the positives of this game, I promise you, because this is a win. The Chiefs are 13-1 on the season. By the way, that is the best start by a reigning champion ever. The best start, record-wise. So the Chiefs, they have a lot of things going their way. Everyone wants to talk about these close games, and they're not blowing teams out. Well, they're winning games. They're 13-1. Meanwhile, the Bills, their social media team actually put out a graphic of who Bills fans need to cheer for. One of them was the Browns today. Well, how did that work out? Not very well. And now they're also rooting for the Eagles to beat the Steelers, so that way they can not only stay ahead in the number 2 seed, but try to at least make it close for the number 1 seed, which, by the way, is continuing to get worse and worse for Buffalo's chances of getting the 1 seed. And I'll tell you right now, this is huge if you're Kansas City, because them getting the number 1 seed is very crucial, considering the Chiefs had a bye week in week 6 this year. Buffalo had their bye week in week 12. They beat the Chiefs, and then they had the bye week right after that. But they had that loss to the Rams, 2-point loss. The punt block right there, that ended up being the difference maker in that game. But man, I just think this Chiefs football team, they have some things to figure out offensively, and I think part of it is play calling. I think a big part of it is play calling. In fact, I think if you're Andy Reid, you got to watch the game, which they do, and understand not running the football so much is really leading to these kinds of struggles here. Again, still, we keep seeing on 3rd and short, they're throwing deep down the field. At one point, they were targeting Justin Watson. Why? I don't know why. They split the carries in this one. Kareem Hunt had 13 runs. Isaiah Pacheco had 13. Should have maybe had a little bit more than that. The Chiefs averaged 3.8 yards per carry, which I think is misleading. I don't think that's a fair representation of how the Chiefs looked offensively on the ground in this game. Kareem Hunt was having a really good game on the ground, having a couple of big chunk gain. Not a big play. Kareem Hunt's longest run of the season was 17 yards. Before the game, I said 7 yards, so my apologies on that. I meant 17. Isaiah Pacheco, he's continuing to be more active, get more involved, especially in the air game. Had a nice reception that went for 15 yards. Kareem Hunt got involved a little bit in the passing game as well. Samaje Perine, they kind of used him here and there. Carson Steele, why are the Chiefs not using him for those short yardage situations? That's a little confusing to me, because I know the Chiefs really like Carson Steele and his skill set and what he's capable of, but we're not seeing the Chiefs utilize that in the rushing attack, especially when short yardage situations. I don't get it. And by the way, if you guys want to call in, the link is right there. Just commented with it again, both on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you guys have any thoughts of your own, please comment below and let me know what is on your mind and how you guys are feeling, because I want to hear from a lot of you guys. I know there are so many different places we can go to. I know we're mostly talking negative things right now. I promise there are positive things to get into here, because the Chiefs at the end of the day, I still thought did some good things. I will say this, on the touchdown drive that they didn't score off the turnover, man, they look great. And I'm watching that. Okay, they're not, going for those big plays like you saw in the past with Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman earlier on in his career. But you know what I saw? I saw the Chiefs go out there and didn't overcomplicate things. They went out there and just played the small ball, did what they needed to do to move the football and eventually get in for the score. That's what they did. Didn't make it complicated. Looks like the Bills are getting the ball first, or am I seeing that wrong? No, the game started a couple of minutes ago, so I guess Detroit didn't score on their opening possession. Yeah, 58 seconds into the game, no score from Detroit. Okay. Yeah, the goatee's gone. The goatee's gone, guys. Rest in peace, goatee. It might come back. You never know. Kind of like Eric Bieniemy might come back to Kansas City. But I'm watching this game, and that drive specifically, it's like the Chiefs, they didn't complicate things. They just went out there, played their game, and got a nice touchdown before halftime. But they were also disorganized in this game. Kind of discombobulated a little bit. The Harrison Butker situation where he missed a field goal, Andy Reid wanted to go for it, but then off the timeout, at the last second, he calls the offense off and has a special teams unit on there. Not everyone got the memo, though. Butker's doing this whole thing because he didn't have a long snapper nor a kicker. So when you have your long snapper and your holder, I said kicker, I'm sorry, I meant holder, the punter, Ariza. When you have your holder and your long snapper not get the memo, someone screwed up with the communication there. And that needs to be better. That falls on Andy Reid's shoulders. That needs to be 100% better. You can't be doing that kind of thing to your own players. Kind of felt like the Chiefs just kind of went out there and rushed that situation. There was another moment when the Mahomes injury happened on fourth down, which again, kind of weird that the Chiefs went for it in that situation on fourth down when there was no need to do that. Especially with that play call there. And I'm watching that. Carson Wentz, as the Chiefs are getting ready to get the ball back, Carson Wentz is not warming up. He's got, his cap on. He's just chilling, listening to Mahomes and Nagy talk. He's not warming up. So I got the impression Mahomes is going back into the game. And then at the very last second, Carson Wentz puts on a helmet and he's back out there. So I'm not even... like, what was going on with the organization in this game? Something just didn't feel right. You had a whole week to prepare for this. You were at home last week, so it's not like you were traveling late coming back from a Sunday night. And even if you were, that's no excuse. A lot of teams go through that. The Chiefs just looked all out of sorts in this game, and they won 21-7. Defense had a great day. They had one bad play, and that was the 64-yard run by Jerome Ford, 62-yard run, pardon me. By the way, you take away those 62 yards, Jerome Ford doesn't have that great of a game. He has 22 carries, 22 yards off 6 carries, if you take away that one carry. So you had one great play on offense, if you're Cleveland. 5 sacks on Jameis Winston, 6 turnovers altogether from Winston and Thompson Robinson as he threw a pick to Jaden Hicks. Trey McDuffie got his first career interception about damn time. And it was a nice play in the end zone to prevent. Chiefs had 2 interceptions in the end zone. So a couple of touchbacks there, which was good to see from the Chiefs defense there to help the team pick up the win and improve to 13-1. And right now we're doing some scoreboard watching as the Bills are driving and the Eagles got the ball back. So we have that action going on right now. A win from the Eagles and the Lions, that helps the Chiefs a lot. All they would have to do is win on Saturday, and they clinch the number 1 seed. I think the Steelers win this game, but I think the Lions will beat the Bills. So I still think you're going to have to play your guys. Now, what do you do with Patrick Mahomes moving forward? That becomes a big question here. That's okay. See, Cody's saying fire Matt Nagy. No, man, I'm not having this discussion. And here's why, Cody. And look, you're not the only one, but everyone wants to blame Matt Nagy. Why? Isn't Andy Reid the guy? Isn't this his offense? Isn't he the play caller? Isn't he essentially the actual offensive coordinator? Like, we did this with Eric Bieniemy. When everything was working, Andy Reid got all the credit. But when things failed and didn't work as well, everyone blamed Matt Nagy, and that made no sense. No sense. I don't think this was a Matt Nagy issue to it. Hey, listen, I'm not a Matt Nagy fan. I'm not a Matt Nagy defender. Do I think Matt Nagy holds some responsibility for the disorganization on offense? Yeah, I would say so. But I think this ultimately still falls on Andy Reid. I mean, he's the guy on offense who's the play caller. So I think there are some things to figure out here. Again, last week too, like on 3rd and short, why the hell are you passing and going deep down the field? I'm not saying don't ever throw it deep down the field ever. I mean, you got to try it at some point. That has to get going at some point, but don't do it on 3rd and short with your drive on the line. You got to do everything you can to keep your drive alive. The one big stat today that I think would upset a lot of Chiefs fans, Chiefs were 7 of 18 on 3rd down. Now, that's not horrendous, but that could have been much, much better, especially after an 0-4 start on 3rd down. So Kansas City's got to figure that out. Cleveland started 2 of 4 on 3rd down. They finished 4 of 12. So Kansas City played much better on 3rd down on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. They got it going. 311 yards of total offense, 75 plays. They averaged 4.1 yards per play. The Browns, 4.4 yards per play. But the Chiefs, all those turnovers, all those takeaways right there, that really helped them pick up this win. Should have scored more off those turnovers, and they didn't. The Bills have a touchdown, and they're getting ready to kick the PAT, so they are up 6-0, likely to be 7-0. Okay, I want to hear from you guys. I'm commenting with the link one more time. If you guys have thoughts, please click on the link, turn on your audio, your video, put in your name, and let's chat it up here. Daniel is hitting leadoff. He's been waiting very patiently. What's going on, Daniel? Talk to me. How you feeling?
Feeling nervous for being 13-1 with this offense and Mahomes and his ankles, but that's all year. I like Tooney at left tackle. I think that was for today because he did a great job against Myles Garrett. I know they gave him some help, and he had to go, a few plays where Mahomes had to scramble out. My concern was after that, I'm blaming Andy Reid. I'm not going to give you Matt Nagy at all because, we're up 21-7, and, if that game was any closer, why are we not running the ball? Why aren't we just running this clock out? Just bleed the clock out.
Yeah.
Cleveland has nobody to catch the ball. They have one guy.
Just one.
There's one guy, and we have 6. If I said the Chiefs would have 6 turnovers, I would have thought we would be scoring in the 40s. We would have
I don't know if I would have said 40s, but I certainly would have thought they would have won by more than 14. Yes.
30s, 30, 32.
Maybe.
I'm just saying, a 14-point lead and only having 6 turnovers is not a lot of confidence in this team that I'm when it comes to like it's the Browns, and I don't take any team lightly. We've seen it don't take Denver lightly. They get a block, we get a block field goal and win, and all these crazy things. But it's like it almost not like a preseason. Andy Reid's responsible. If you're gonna kick the field goal, everybody has to be right there. I want to kick a field goal. Yeah. Hey, Dave Toke, I want your kicker, your long snapper, and your holder right on the sideline. Because when I give you the signal, you get them out there. And you can't. And because I would have loved to see Buckner come back and have a redeem himself for a field goal, but we never got to see that chance. And so this team just frustrates me. They're 13-1, and I'm great. And I'm hoping we get some help. But if we don't, we don't. This is going to be a tough stretch. I don't. Maybe you rest him in the Pittsburgh game if we clinch it on Saturday. Then maybe we just watch the Christmas game and ho hum. The Chiefs lose another holiday Christmas game. Big deal, if it doesn't really matter, and we rest him. But then again, also we've seen with wins, it's like this. Was this week 15 or week 1 in the preseason?
Sorry, I was reading something. What was the question?
I said it was the way this game was this week 1 of the preseason or week 15 of the regular season?
I agree with you. It did have a little bit of a preseason feel in this one.
Right. So
By the way, Daniel, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'll put you back on in a second. Let me just put you on hold, Daniel, because we do have a little bit of breaking news here regarding Patrick Mahomes and his injury here. This is not what anyone wants to see right now. He was able to walk to the locker room, and bear with me, I'm trying to get the picture up there for you guys, but it is not the prettiest of sights if you're a Chiefs fan. He was carted out while leaving the stadium. So usually when you're not the stadium, but just going somewhere, I'm not exactly sure where, but usually when you are carted out, you're not going to be doing any kind of media. So we will not be hearing from Patrick Mahomes after the game. And again, this is we're working on getting the image here for you guys. There it is, right there. That was from Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star. So see those doors to your left. Mahomes was seen walk out of those doors, and then he immediately got on the cart here. And you see some of the staff members surrounding him, both right next to him in the back of the cart, and also a couple of people in the front of the cart, including the driver. So that is the latest we have from the whole Patrick Mahomes injury there. Daniel, I'll let you finish your thought there. I apologize for cutting you off. Go ahead with your final thoughts.
Final thoughts is I think he's going to get x-rays. I mean, at least he's walking on his own powers. I mean, he walked off on his own power off the field, and it looks like maybe getting x-rays. Hopefully that's where they're going to go, where they're going to card him to get him further evaluation. I hope he's on a short week, long. Final thoughts is let's go Bills. Let's go Lions and let's go Eagles.
Yes.
After seeing that,
I like that call. I appreciate the call, Daniel. Thanks for calling in. Some good thoughts there. Yeah, this is obviously he's going to go get x-rays and all that, but boy, just not a scene you want to see. Look, we've seen a worse injury on that ankle for Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so Andy Reid said Patrick Mahomes' ankle is not broken. Quote, it is sore. That is the quote from Andy Reid. Which, look, we've already talked about the Chiefs and their training staff. Take everything they say with a grain of salt. No disrespect. I mean, listen, they're doctors, not me, but you do not want to ever see this Chiefs training staff. I just don't trust right now. I just don't. They have screwed up some injuries in the past. Recently, the Hollywood Brown injury. In the past, Eric Berry. I mean, who else? McCole Hardman happened a couple of years ago. Just not really the. I mean, you kind of wonder, why do the Chiefs get failing grades on these things? So we'll see. We will see here. Yeah, look, you now have to think about the whole short week thing. I don't know. What do you do? Because I saw someone mention that you rest Mahomes for this game and let Carson Wentz play and then have him get ready for the Pittsburgh game instead. So I don't know. Andy Reid did say it's not broken. So, and again, if you're Andy Reid, like, he's done this before where, and not specifically always with injuries, but just in situations where you could have called better plays to just set your team up for success. And then you do things that you shouldn't do that hurts your team, whether with injuries or just overall with trying to win football games. You can't be doing that. That is extremely frustrating watching this Chiefs team at times. Listen, Andy Reid's one of the best head coaches of all time. No one should take anything away from Andy Reid and what he's accomplished. I know it took him a very long time to get a Super Bowl ring, but he's still, I mean, he's obviously, like, he's had a lot of success in the past. He's won a lot of games in Philadelphia, in Kansas City. It's just, it took him a long time to get the rings, but he's always been very smart. He's had a lot of success everywhere he's gone. But the play calling, man, it's always been a question mark, especially in certain situations with Andy Reid. So hopefully the Chiefs can figure this one out. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys ever feel like the Chiefs intentionally hold back, especially in like I mean, not that this was a blowout, but in one-sided games? Because I've seen a lot of people say that about Andy Reid, that he saves his best plays for the playoffs. Well, if you're Andy Reid, you've been doing this a very long time. You have a very, very thick playbook. You know those big-ass dictionaries that are thousands of pages long? That has to be what Andy Reid's playbook looks like. That's how thick that playbook has to be if you're Andy Reid, because you've been doing this for so long. And the weird thing is with the Chiefs, it's like, unless you're running a snap on every single second of the game, which is obviously impossible, there's no way you can even go through your entire playbook like that. You can't reveal everything right away like that. It just doesn't work like that. So it's okay to run some, of your best plays. I know trick plays have not been there for Kansas City much this year. But yeah, I just feel like, listen, I'll go back to Andy Reid's very first game with the Chiefs against Jacksonville. The Chiefs got off to a 21-2 start. Remember that? Who was it? I think it was Dustin Colquitt's punt was blocked, and it went back for a safety. And then the Chiefs, they go and score 21 unanswered points. They don't score an offensive touchdown the rest of the game. But late in the fourth quarter, Tamba Hali gets a pick six. And it was like a 5-yard, 6-yard pick six. It wasn't like he had to run from field to field or anything like that. But a lot of people after the game were like, that's kind of a weird start to the Andy Reid era. You score 21 points on offense and then nothing the rest of the way. But we've seen that. 2016 was kind of a weird year too, where the Chiefs would score so much in like one half or one quarter, and then you wouldn't see them score again the rest of the way. Listen, we've seen this team put up 28 points in one quarter. They did it against the Raiders in 2019, in that same season in the divisional round against the Houston Texans. When they were down 24-0, they erased that deficit in 11 or 10 minutes when they scored 28 points. So we've seen the Chiefs light it up at times in the past. And I know the offense has changed a lot over the years, but it's still the same Chiefs team. You have the same coaching staff. It's still, the success is still there is what I'm trying to say. Maybe the personnel's changed over the years a lot, but we've seen this team light it up in a short amount of time. But the inconsistency, I think, is just what frustrates a lot of people right now. That is the biggest frustration when you look at the Chiefs. Yeah, Steve said 51-31. The Chiefs scored nothing in the first quarter, and then they scored 51 points in the rest of the last three quarters. I don't know, man. It's been kind of tough to watch. And I think Timothy says Andy plays down to inferior teams, and it keeps the door open for them to come back. See, I'm watching that game, and I'm like, are the Browns coming back? And by the way, if you guys also want to call in, lines are open right now. So if you guys have any thoughts of your own, I'd love to hear from you guys. Link is right there for you guys to call in. Don't be afraid to, put the pedal to the metal. Like, let's go out there and score and embarrass them in their own home stadium. You're not, going to hell if you're not committing a massive sin if you humiliate your opponents. I mean, now if you're doing like the DX crotch chop, suck it gesture after every touchdown, you're kind of an asshole for doing that, but that's not what's going on here. Like, and then by the way, you would have a lot of people who would get fined if you did that after every score. It's okay to go out there and score against your opponents, and the Chiefs just haven't really been doing much of that. I know there's mostly negative reactions, and we've gone over some positives this year. By the way, Nate Burleson said before the game, he said, "You are crazy if you don't think the Chiefs are going to figure this out by playoff time." Okay. Loud and clear. I hear you. There were a few people who said that last year. There were a lot of people who wrote off the Chiefs before the playoffs, but there were very, very, very few people out there in the national media that actually believed in the Chiefs. Maybe they didn't believe in them completely, but didn't write them off. Pat McAfee, Colin Cowherd, Rich Eisen, all three of them said the same thing. And they were really the only ones who said this. They said the Chiefs, all they've got to do is flip the switch. And they did. It wasn't perfect last year in the playoffs, but they played better. Everyone else wrote them off, thought they were going to be one and done. Oh, okay. They beat the Dolphins. Well, it was cold. Okay, they're going to Buffalo on the road, first ever road playoff game. Yeah. And now we got problems for Kansas. Nope. Chiefs won that one. Oh, but the Ravens, they've been blowing teams. Chiefs got them. And then the 49ers in the Super Bowl got them in overtime, walk-off fashion. So I don't know. I'm just not sure at the end of the day. Like, when do you see the Chiefs pick it up? Because I think a lot of people are kind of tired of waiting for the Chiefs offense to wake up. Because at times I'm watching this game, I'm like, oh, okay, Chiefs offense picking it up. They're playing better. But then they kind of go back to that slow level of football that we just don't want to see. We see that often. Real quick score updates here. The Bills are driving. They're up 7-0 on the Lions. They are about to enter the red zone with about 3:55 left in the first quarter. And then the Eagles, they're up 3-0, but the Steelers have the ball. They just crossed midfield and they are driving. Oh, almost a disaster interception there for Russell Wilson. Wait, did Mahomes just speak to the media? Because judging by some of the tweets I'm seeing from the media, it sounds like Mahomes is talking to the media. Okay, Patrick Mahomes is at the podium. Interesting. So he says it's hard to say right now. Adrenaline's still going. Usually it's the day after that you can tell. I feel like I could have finished the game under different circumstances, meaning if it was close. I think it was a smart decision to come out of the game. And then from Adam Teicher, he tweets and basically says the same thing as other reporters, is that Mahomes feels like he could have finished the game if it was close. Okay. I mean, listen, Mahomes is not a wimp. We've seen this guy go through a lot of, and we've seen a worse ankle injury on him before. We have. And he was staying in the game. Remember that against the Jags in the playoffs? So we've seen that before. And then he re-aggravated the injury in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and he still finished the game. And by the way, that was when the Eagles were up by 10 points. So I trust the Chiefs in this one. I think Mahomes will be fine. You maybe hold him off for one game, maybe, especially on a short week. Save him for the other game, which is also going to be on an even shorter week. Maybe so. Maybe so. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, if you guys want to call in with your thoughts, please the link right there. Let me know your thoughts on today's game. I'll read some more comments. In the meantime, Bob is on the Chiefs Zone podcast. What's going on, Bob? What are your thoughts?
Lars? Welcome back to America.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Looked like the sunshine and the water was doing you fine out there.
Yeah. The weather was nice. Could not complain. Can't complain.
Absolutely. The Chiefs, I thought they the first half they looked like they was trying to put a game together, and we established the run, and then we had a couple breaks for us catching the ball. Our defense played really well today, man. McDuffie finally got his first interception in the NFL.
Yes.
Wow. To me, I thought that was a highlight because I didn't realize that he hadn't had one yet.
Oh, yeah.
But my boy, 32, got down today. And
you're always a fan of him.
I'm not going to drop no F-bombs today. I'm cool, calm, and collected today. But I really think that they played a one half of football. And then they went back to their old ways again on the offense. The offensive line looks like it's going to continue to be a struggle all year. So what we see is what we got. And I don't think they're going to get any better than that, man. I really don't. Patty's taking an ass whooping every game this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I didn't think the kid was that tough, man. But the guy has taken so many hits. It's unbelievable. I'm surprised he's still walking, man. And he hasn't had a fracture or something, bad happen.
Let me just interject for a second there, Bob, because the biggest concern was Myles Garrett, who had a great game. Here's a crazy thing. The Browns had 0 sacks in this game, but as a team, they got 12 quarterback hits. That's more than Kansas City. Kansas City had 11 quarterback hits, but the Browns got 12 in this one here. Even though they got 0 sacks, they got the next best thing you could get, and they roughed up Mahomes, as you said.
And I don't know. I think that's just where we're at with them, man. I don't think they're going to get any better. I'd love to see them explode and put up a 40-point game, but man, it ain't going to happen, I'm afraid. If you see all the catches, man, they're coming off of crisscrossing in the middle, and these wide receivers aren't that big, man. So once a linebacker or a corner's come up and done some tagging, man, they're usually falling. So, but it looked like they was going to our rookie quite a bit today, trying to establish something with him today. I think he had like 10 or 11 catches today.
Who are you referring to? Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, no, our receiver, our rookie.
Xavier Worthy had 6 receptions today for 46 yards.
Oh, only 6, huh? I thought
it felt like it was. He was targeted 11 times.
Okay, that's what it was. But man, I thought they was trying to establish something with him. They got away from, and then Juju stuck in there and got one down there when we. But it all got set up from the defense on our scoring, basically.
Yeah.
Two touchdowns was over turnovers. Come off with 2 turnovers down in the red zone. But a W is a W, man, in this game, and I'm not too upset with them. I've already blew my top a couple times this year, expecting too much out of them, and I think that until somebody steps up and ramrods us, man, we're still the best team in the NFL. Record wise. So
yeah, I agree with you.
As long as we get Patty up on his feet, man, that's going to be the whole ticket. You look at this Bills game, man. This is the worst team. This is the team that scares me the most, right here, the Bills. And I know that 14-0 right now. We own them in postseason, but man, it only takes one time, brother, to turn that around. So this is the team that really scares me.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I appreciate you calling in, Bob. Some good thoughts there, and thank you for calling in as you usually do. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, the Bills are looking good. They just got a nice run stop against the Lions, and I'm watching on a smaller screen, so I couldn't tell which running back that was, but they just lost a couple of yards. By the way, I don't know what happened, but they showed a replay of a fight in the Eagles Steelers game. That was interesting. The Lions just look like they can't really get much going. They got a first down just now on a screenplay, but they're going to need a lot more than that as they go on. I'm thinking of some of the things Bob said. He mentioned a win's a win, and he's right, especially this late in the season when you're 13-1. By the way, what was the record last year for the Ravens when they won the number 1 seed? They had a 13-4 record. A 13-4 record is not winning you the number 1 seed this year. That is not even close. And if you're wondering who was right behind Baltimore in the AFC, the Bills, but they were 2 games behind, and then the Chiefs. So the Bills, Chiefs, Browns, and Dolphins, they all were 11-6. So Baltimore, they really didn't have a lot of competition for the number 1 seed really throughout the season. But man, and by the way, one of those losses that Baltimore had was in week 18 when they put all their backups in. So really, they only lost 3 games in the regular season. No one even came close to competing with Baltimore for the number 1 seed. When you look at the NFL right now, you're not going to go out there and win it with a 13-4 record. The Chiefs have 13 wins right now, and they're still kind of doing some scoreboard watching. So the Bills, who are still on Kansas City's tail, they need Kansas City to, with 3 games left, you essentially would need Kansas City to lose 2 of 3, and then you have to win out. I think the Bills, if they beat the Lions, I think they can win out the rest of the season because their schedule is very easy. I believe they have the Patriots twice still. Boy, isn't that a favorable schedule to end the season with? So they still have that in their favor. But Kansas City, even though they've got some tough games remaining the rest of the year, they're still a team that, that they'll be able to find a way. And by the way, here's the thing with Kansas City's schedule. All of the bad teams are out of Kansas City's schedule now. So what is my point in bringing that up? Kansas City did not have a stupid loss this year, meaning they didn't lose a game that they shouldn't have lost. They've only lost once this year. That was to Buffalo on the road. And when you look at this Chiefs team, every year the Chiefs have a game that they lose that they shouldn't lose. Last year they had a couple, the Broncos and the Raiders. The year before it was the Colts in 2022. In 2021, the Titans game was an embarrassment. And then in 2020, they lost to the Raiders. That was their only loss in the regular season because the other loss was when they had all their backups in week 17. 2018, I think they were 12-4 both seasons and had a loss or two that year that shouldn't have happened. I know the Colts was one of them in 2019. So, but this year, not the case. The Chiefs don't have one of those embarrassing losses this year. So Kansas City in general has done a good job of not losing games that they shouldn't have lost. Only one loss on the year. I mean, that's not easy. Now, are these games closer than maybe they should be? Yeah, perhaps, but they're finding ways to win. And by the way, it doesn't matter if they're going up against a playoff team or if they're going up against a bad team. They always just have a lot of close games. Today, okay, maybe not as close, but still somewhat close. I mean, it wasn't like it was out of reach for the Browns. They were calling timeouts with less than 5 minutes to go to try to get back into the game, but couldn't do so. So in general, I'm just looking at the Chiefs, and I think, they're doing some things right in terms of finding ways to be competitive and come away with the win more times than not. So that's a good part. And then, you got a couple of tough teams to finish off the schedule. I know Houston has not been as good as a lot of people thought they were going to be this year. Still can't take them lightly. But Kansas City, I mean, you can't sit here and say they're skating by with an easy schedule because they're 4-1 against teams that are currently in position to make the playoffs right now. They're not skating by with an easy schedule. Anyone who says that, show them the graphic I made earlier this week that shows everyone's schedule or their record rather when they're facing teams that are currently in playoff position. I mean, it's definitely better than a lot of people believe. Now, Pittsburgh's offense definitely needs to pick up. It is tied right now 3-3. The Lions, I believe they just had the end of the first quarter. They have the ball. So we'll see if the Lions can make a game out of it as they're coming back to start the second quarter here. Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, and by the way, one thing about the Lions, keep in mind, Jared Goff had a game where he threw 5 picks in that Sunday night game against Houston, and they still found a way to win. And in that game against Chicago, they didn't really look that great. And they found a way to come away with a win in that game. So Detroit is kind of like Kansas City. I know they blow more teams out than Kansas City does, but they've also had some games similar to Kansas City where they've been involved in some close games recently. So yeah, that'll be a very interesting game to watch. Yeah, Bob was mentioning the only scoring 2 touchdowns off of the 6 turnovers. Yeah, it's just, listen, there's nothing wrong with scoring a touchdown off a turnover. When you have that many turnovers, you should be scoring, taking advantage of those opportunities. But you got to find a way to manufacture your own drives when you start from your own 20, 25, 30, 35, whatever it may be. And you got to find a way to put together these 80, 70, 60-yard drives. The Chiefs only did that once in this game. It was a 12-play drive. How many yards did it go for? I'll look that up real quickly. It was a 14-play drive, 87 yards. Took almost 7 minutes. Then that missed field goal after the turnover on down, after a really nice kick return there that the Browns had, the Chiefs went on a quick 9-play drive for 48 yards, 3 minutes and 1 second, missing the field goal, which, could have resulted in something better if they weren't working against the clock there in that situation. But the Chiefs know how to move the football. And I get the second one was off a turnover on down there, but the Chiefs know how to move the football. This is a team that knows how to convert on third down. They're the best in the NFL in doing that. But for whatever reason, they do struggle in the red zone, and they're very inconsistent. And the defense, people have been talking about the Chiefs defense. They haven't really been at their best. They've been playing just fine, in my opinion, lately. I think the game against the Panthers, that was probably their worst game. I'm not really beating up the Chiefs defense from that Buffalo game because they shut down the Bills in the third quarter when the Chiefs were down by 2 at halftime. But nobody scored in the third quarter. Kansas City's defense gave the offense every chance to get back in this game, and the offense never took advantage of that. So I don't have an issue with the Chiefs defense in that Buffalo game. I really don't. As the Eagles get a touchdown, A.J. Brown gets into the end zone on 3rd and 9. The Lions, they got a first down and a touchdown. So the Eagles just scored a touchdown to go ahead by 1 possession. And the Lions, they also scored a touchdown. So they have cut the deficit in that game, making it a 1-score game. So Tim Patrick of the Lions getting into the end zone there to put Detroit on the scoreboard. So the two things that Chiefs fans are needing right now, both of them just happened, courtesy of A.J. Brown and Tim Patrick. So there is that happening right now. And nice little diving play, keeping his hand up, gliding in the air, go to the end zone. That's a sweet looking play right there. That's definitely do they still do top 10 plays on SportsCenter? If they do, that has to be on there. Absolutely has to be on there. But you gotta find ways to manufacture your own long drives, and the Chiefs didn't do that in this game. Only once. Got to do it much more often. I'll read some Instagram comments here. Barry Dry says Reed play calling a bit weak. Yeah. Diego Tasia _ says, help me, I didn't watch the game. Is Pat okay? I mean, listen, he's Pat. He always goes through these things. He'll start limping around a little bit, and then next thing you know, he'll play. He says he could have finished the game. So I think that's a good indication right there. Now, obviously, he mentioned this in the press conference, adrenaline, all that stuff. We'll have a better answer tomorrow. And again, keep in mind, there's going to be a shorter week. So the information could probably come pretty quickly as the week goes on. So we'll see what the Chiefs want to do with all of that. Obviously, Mahomes will be on the injury report. By the way, a lot of you guys have mentioned Joe Thuney, and I've yet to say anything about Joe Thuney in this game. I thought Joe Thuney had some good moments in this game, and then I thought he also had some bad moments. Listen, you're going up against Myles Garrett. So it's not like this was, if that was Wanya Morris out there, Mahomes is getting sacked at least 3 times in this game by Garrett, who obviously still had a great game despite no sacks. The Browns as a unit got 12 quarterback hits on Mahomes. I don't know if any of them were on Carson Wentz, but man. And by the way, speaking of when Carson Wentz was in, why were the Chiefs still running the football or throwing the football? I just think if the Chiefs can commit to the run game, they can do some things to opposing defenses, regardless of how good their defense is. And again, I know the yard per carry average, people are going to look at that. Well, if you just look at the box score, yeah, it looks bad. But if you actually watch the game, Kansas City's running game was not as bad as the stats look. Averaging 3.8 yards per carry. Pacheco and Hunt both ran the ball 13 times. Should have given them, some more touches than this one. I would like to see them have gotten at least 3 more carries each. I think that would have made a difference, especially on 3rd and short situations. I just cannot comprehend the need to go deep down the field on 3rd and short. If it's working all year long, great, go for it. I'm not going to criticize you, even if it fails. But when it hasn't been working all year long, I'm going to question, why the hell is Andy Reid going for that deep play on 3rd and short when it hasn't been there all year? It's only been there once, and that was in that Week 4 Chargers game when Mahomes threw it to Worthy. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how that all has gone this year for Kansas City. One last thing before I get out of here. Some news we got this morning is that Hollywood Brown is expected to play next Saturday against the Texans. Ian Rappaport has kind of been all over the Hollywood Brown story, but he mentioned this morning on NFL Network that Hollywood Brown, the Chiefs were impressed with him yesterday or I'm sorry, Friday rather, because Friday was Hollywood Brown's first time practicing all year in the regular season. And they felt like he was quick. He impressed the Chiefs coaching staff. They liked what they saw from him in practice. And Ian Rappaport, in quotes, said, he said that there's a really good chance that Hollywood Brown will play next Saturday against the Texans. So that's a good sign right there. Chiefs are going to need all the players they can get. Hollywood Brown's really the only one they're kind of waiting on. Butker is now back. Pacheco's back. Omenihu is back, who had a really good game today, going after the Browns quarterback, whether it was Jameis Winston or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We saw the Omenihu special, the strip sack right there. That's always what he's good at. By the way, the Chiefs had 5 sacks. George Karlaftis had a couple. Omenihu, I mentioned, had 1. Wharton had 1. Turk Wharton, and they mentioned on the broadcast, he's having a really good season. Turk Wharton had a really good play, too, where he was kind of pushed around. He had to turn his body around and immediately brings down the running back. I can't remember who it was, despite, kind of being tossed around in that moment right there. So Turk Wharton's having a really good season. Tranquil and Bolton split a sack. Chris Jones didn't have a sack, but man, he was out there creating penetration on a lot of plays as that allowed other Chiefs defenders to get in there and get those 5 sacks on Jameis Winston. So a really good day for the Chiefs defense for sure. Offense, still some things to work on, but even with all of the issues offensively, the Chiefs continue to find ways to win. They're 13-1. They've got a nice lead in the AFC right now with 3 games to go. 3 games left to go for the Chiefs. Obviously, the Steelers and the Bills, they still have their games right now going on. But boy, it's just becoming more and more likely that the Chiefs are going to get that number 1 seed. And I'll tell you what, if the Chiefs get that number 1 seed, I think it will do wonders for them. I think that nice little break there is what they desperately need. Hollywood Brown could use it. I think Patrick Mahomes could definitely use it, especially now with the ankle injury. Travis Kelce could definitely benefit from this. And I think in general, this Chiefs team is going to be playing much better because they had their bye week in week 6. To get a postseason bye, that is huge, especially when you consider the fact that there's only 1 postseason bye in each conference. That makes the number 1 seed a lot more valuable. Number 2 seed is still good too, but you don't get the postseason bye. And if the reigning back-to-back champs get the postseason bye, that's huge. And for all those people that want to keep saying the Chiefs, they're going to lose in the playoffs because they've essentially played an extra season since 2018, well, that postseason bye certainly helps alleviate that. So that definitely will help Kansas City for sure in the playoffs. 13-1, 21-7 win over the Browns. We'll see what happens this week with Mahomes' injury and how the Chiefs are going to approach the game against the Texans on Saturday. Keep in mind, this is another noon kickoff game for the Chiefs. Breaking news. Before we get out of here, Ian Rappaport just shared that x-rays are negative on Patrick Mahomes' ankle. More tests coming Monday. Bleacher Report is calling him week to week. Okay, that's not what we want to hear. Week to week. That's an interesting call right there. Week to week. Yeah, that's what Rappaport's reporting. Week to week. Interesting. Okay. We'll obviously talk about it more tomorrow evening on the Chiefs Zone podcast. Join me then. Appreciate all the calls, all the comments. Talk to y'all later. Take care.